Have you ever held a single penny in your hand and wondered if it could change your life forever? Imagine this, a coin so ordinary, so common, that you've likely seen it dozens of times. Yet in reality, it could be worth more than a brand new Lamborghini, a luxury house, even more than some people earn in an entire lifetime. Yes, I'm talking about the mysterious 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln sent a humble 1-cent coin that, in the right condition, has shocked the market with prices soaring into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, with some reported sales brushing up against the $1 million mark. And here's the twist. You might already have one sitting in your pocket, in a forgotten jar, or buried in a box of old change somewhere in your home. Now, before you laugh this off and think, come on, it's just a penny. Stop for a moment. Because history has proven time and time again that the smallest, most overlooked treasures often carry the biggest rewards. So, the question you should be asking right now isn't, is this real? The question is, could I be the one holding it? Let's dive in. First, let's rewind to 1980. It was a year of transition, of cultural shifts, and yes, of small mistakes with massive consequences at the U.S. Mint. Normally, pennies struck at the Philadelphia Mint during that era carried no mint mark at all. Philadelphia simply didn't stamp their coins with a P until 1984 certain denominations. But here's where things get strange. A handful of 1980 Lincoln cents struck without a mint mark, combined with errors, exceptional condition, or proof-like qualities, have crossed into the realm of extreme rarity. These aren't just the coins you find in circulation with scratches and dings. These are pristine survivors. It's the kind of flawless copper-plated zinc beauties that collectors fight tooth and nail to own. And when collectors fight, the prices explode. Think about this. One of these cents, a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the street, has reportedly fetched upwards of $923,000 at auction in top condition. Let that sink in for a second. A single penny worth almost $1 million. Wouldn't it be ironic if the coin you once dropped in a vending machine could have paid off your entire mortgage? So how is this even possible? Why does one penny get ignored in your spare change, while another penny, nearly identical, commands enough money to change your life? It comes down to three things: rarity, condition, and demand. Rarity is obvious. The fewer surviving examples, the more collectors are willing to pay. In the case of the 1980 no mint mark cent, pristine versions are vanishingly rare. Condition is king. In the world of coin collecting, tiny differences in sharpness, luster, quality, separate pocket change from six-figure treasures. A coin graded as mint state 67 or 68. The kinds of grades given only to coins that look virtually untouched since leaving the press can skyrocket in value, and then there's demand. When wealthy collectors get into bidding wars, prices leap into the stratosphere. These auctions aren't just sales, they're gladiator battles, with each collector swinging their checkbook like a sword. But here's the chilling truth. Most people throw away their chance before they even know it's there. They spend these coins, roll them up, at the bank, or let them sit in dusty jars, never realizing they've let fortunes slip through their fingers. What if you already owned one of these coins, and it's gone forever because you didn't look closely enough? That fear, that gnawing thought, is exactly why you should pay attention now more than ever. So, let's get practical. How do you spot one of these treasures? Start by examining every 1980 Lincoln cent you come across. You're looking for a few things. First, no mint mark under the date that's expected for Philadelphia cents of that era. But what sets the valuable ones apart are die varieties, sharp details, doubled dies, and, most importantly, condition. If your coin still glows with its original luster, if Lincoln's features are razor sharp, and if there are no scratches visible under a magnifying glass, you could be holding something extraordinary. Collectors crave coins that look like they just rolled off the press yesterday. And here's a startling fact. Only a microscopic fraction of pennies survive decades in circulation without picking up fatal flaws. That's why untouched rolls of 1980 cents, stashed away in attics, are today's buried treasure. Now, you might be wondering, why haven't I heard about this before? If a penny could be worth nearly $1 million, why isn't it plastered across the nightly news? The truth is, coin collecting is a world that thrives in whispers and auctions, not headlines. Unless you're inside the hobby, these stories don't often reach the mainstream. But the insiders know. And once a high-profile sale makes headlines in the numismatic community, the chase intensifies. And here's where the suspense thickens. Every year, as more people start hunting, the pool of undiscovered coins gets smaller. Every attic gets cleaned out. Every jar of pennies gets cashed in. Every roll sitting in a bank vault gets unwrapped. Time is not on your side. The longer you wait, the slimmer your chances of finding one. Let me ask you this. If you had the chance to check just a few coins and potentially uncover a life-changing fortune, would you do it? Or would you let someone else find it while you sit back and wonder what could have been? Imagine the regret of realizing that the penny you spent on gum 20 years ago might today be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That sting of what if is something no one wants to live with. On the other hand, imagine the exhilaration of spotting it, of holding it up to the light and realizing you've beaten the odds. The heart-pounding moment when you call a professional grader, send it in for certification, and get the news. Mint State 67, one of the finest known. Suddenly, the world looks different. Your friends laugh in disbelief. Your family stares wide-eyed. And in the auction room, millionaires battle for the coin you plucked from obscurity. Here's another revelation. Not all fortunes come from pristine Mint State coins. Even circulated examples of rare varieties can fetch impressive sums. While they won't touch the $923,000 headline sales, they can still pay for a vacation, clear a credit card bill, or cover a semester of college tuition. Not bad for something that costs 1 cent to acquire. So, how do you protect yourself from missing out? The answer is simple but powerful. Start looking now. Get yourself a magnifying glass, a reference guide, and start searching through every penny you come across. Check your old jars, your dresser drawers, your glove box, even the change at the bottom of your washing machine. Every coin is a lottery ticket, but unlike a lottery, the odds here are based on knowledge, not chance. And remember, you don't need to find $1 million penny to change your life. Even a coin worth a few $100s is still an incredible return on investment. But let's not sugarcoat it. The $1 million dream is real. People have cashed in before, and they will again. The only question is, will it be you? Because here's the climactic truth. Somewhere out there, more of these coins are waiting to be discovered. They don't sparkle. They don't glow. They don't call out your name. They hide in plain sight, blending in with the sea of ordinary copper-plated cents. And yet, for those sharp enough to look, brave enough to check, and lucky enough to find, the reward is life-changing. Picture yourself 6 months from now, standing at an auction house, watching as the price on your coin climbs higher and higher. 100,000, 200, 500. The bidding paddles rise. The room grows tense, and before you know it, your humble penny has secured you a fortune. And it all started because you didn't. Ignore it, so the next time you hold a penny from 1980, don't shrug it off. Don't toss it aside. Stare at it, inspect it. Ask yourself, is this the one? Because if history has taught us anything, it's that extraordinary wealth often hides in the most ordinary places. Don't let yours slip away. In the world of pocket change, there exists a silent treasure hunt that most Americans never realize they're part of. You reach into your wallet, grab a handful of coins, and without a second thought, toss a penny into a tip jar or let it roll under your car seat. But what if I told you one of those pennies could be worth not just a few cents? Not even a few $100s, but potentially life-changing money, hundreds of thousands, even creeping close to $1 million. And here's the shocking part. It might not look much different from the others rattling in your pocket. Right now, the coin in question is the mysterious 1981 no mint mark Lincoln cent, a small copper-coated disc that, under the right conditions, could turn the most ordinary American into a millionaire overnight. Imagine the sheer absurdity. A coin you've ignored your entire life suddenly becomes the key to paying off your house, erasing your debts, or even setting you up for retirement. All because of a tiny missing mark. Now, before we dive deeper, let's set the stage. The Lincoln penny has been in circulation since 1909, making it one of the most recognizable coins in the United States. For decades, these coins have been produced in massive numbers by various U.S. mint facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco being the main players. Normally, mint marks like D for Denver or S for San Francisco tell you where the coin came from. But in 1981, something unusual happened. A batch of Lincoln cents slipped into circulation without that tiny identifying mint mark. At first glance, nothing seems amiss. But coin collectors, people who spend their lives analyzing every ridge and engraving, recognize something extraordinary. Why is this important? Because in the high-stakes world of numismatics, rarity equals value. A missing mint mark isn't just a minor error. It's a signal to collectors that they're looking at something incredibly scarce. And scarcity drives competition. Competition drives prices. Prices, in some cases, climb into the stratosphere. Picture this. You're at a garage sale, paying for a dusty box of books with a handful of change. And someone later points out that one of those pennies you gave away could have sold at auction for $919,000 in top condition. Yes, you heard that correctly, nearly $1 million for a single copper penny. It sounds insane, doesn't it? But documented sales have confirmed numbers in that neighborhood, sparking a frenzy among coin hunters and everyday Americans alike. Here's where the story gets even more fascinating. The Philadelphia Mint, for much of its history, didn't use a mint mark at all. That's right, coins from Philadelphia were essentially nameless. But by the late 1970s and early 1980s, the landscape was shifting. Mint marks were becoming standardized, and errors were becoming rarer, which means that a 1981 cent without a mint mark, in pristine condition, stands out like a diamond in a gravel pit. Now, let me ask you something. How many times have you glanced at a penny, saw the date, and just moved on without noticing whether it had a tiny D or S beneath the year? If you're like most people, the answer is every single time. And that's exactly why so many fortunes have been overlooked. That subtle, microscopic detail has transformed lives, and it could transform yours too. The truth is, the world of rare coins is filled with stories of people who stumbled into wealth by pure accident. A widow cleaning out her late husband's desk finds a cigar box of coins and later learns that one of them is worth 6 figures. A teenager checking pocket change from the grocery store uncovers a misprint coin and pays for their college tuition. And yes, ordinary Americans, just like you, have unknowingly tossed fortunes into vending machines. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? But let's step back for a moment. How does a simple penny achieve such astronomical value? The answer lies in 3 powerful forces: condition, scarcity, and demand. First, condition. In the coin world, it's not enough just to have the coin. You need it in the best possible state. Coins graded as mint state or proof-like can fetch staggering sums. Second, scarcity. If only a handful exists, collectors will go to war with their wallets to own one. And finally, demand. The Lincoln cent is one of the most beloved coins in American history. That passion inflates values to levels that outsiders can hardly believe. This brings us to the emotional core of the story: possibility. Because right now, there are still 1981 no mint mark Lincoln cents floating out there, in jars on nightstands, in piggy banks, in coin rolls at your local bank. They're out there, waiting, hidden in plain sight. And the only question is, who will find them? Think about that for a second. What if the next time you pay for coffee, the barista hands you back change that includes a 6-figure penny? What if you're sitting on your couch tonight, dumping out a coin jar, and staring at what could be your golden ticket? Wouldn't you want to know how to check? Wouldn't you feel foolish if you found out later you'd spent it without realizing? Here's the suspenseful twist. It's not just about the missing mint mark. Within the 1981 issue, there are sub-varieties, die errors, and unique strike qualities that can catapult the value even higher. Some of the rarest examples are so flawless, so untouched, that collectors practically salivate when they surface. We're talking about fierce bidding wars, auction houses buzzing, and dollar figures that climb higher than anyone could imagine for a lula coin most people think isn't worth the metal it's made from. And yet, most Americans have no idea. They hear about the Powerball lottery, they dream about the stock market, they hope for an inheritance. But they don't realize they've been sitting on their own version of a lottery ticket every time they empty their pockets. Isn't it ironic? The same coin you might ignore on the ground could be the very thing that changes your destiny. Now let's inject a little humor into this, shall we? Imagine calling your financial advisor tomorrow. Hey, remember how you told me to diversify my portfolio? Well, I just diversified into copper. 1 cent's worth. It only made me about $900,000 richer. Click. Silence on the other end of the line. Because who in their right mind expects a penny to outperform Wall Street? But don't let the humor fool you. The urgency here is real. These coins are not just sitting in plain sight forever. Collectors are actively searching, dealers are combing through rolls, and every year that passes means fewer and fewer uncirculated 1981 cents are left to be discovered. The window of opportunity narrows with every passing day. And if you've ever said, "I'll get around to checking someday," remember this: someday never made anyone rich. Action did. So, what should you do? Start small. Check your change. Look through your jars. Study the date 1981. Then glance at that tiny space just under the year. Do you see a D? Do you see an S? Or is it blank? If it's blank, your heart might just skip a beat. And if the condition looks good, shiny, crisp details, minimal scratches, you may very well be holding something extraordinary. And here's the final, climactic thought. The 1981 no mint mark Lincoln cent represents more than just money. It represents possibility, hope, and the reminder that treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. It's the ultimate symbol of how life can surprise us when we least expect it. So, the next time you're tempted to shrug off a penny, stop. Hold it up to the light. Ask yourself, could this be the one? Could this humble coin be the ticket to my financial breakthrough? Because for someone out there, it will be. And the only real question is, will it be you? Keep your eyes open. Check every coin, because sometimes the path to wealth doesn't start with $1, it starts with a penny. At first glance, this coin doesn't look any different than the pennies you and I have seen our entire lives. Abraham Lincoln's profile stares stoically to the right. "In God We Trust" arcs over his head, and the familiar wheat-colored copper ore in some cases, zinc catches the light. Nothing unusual, and yet lurking in plain sight. This coin carries a mystery that collectors and treasure hunters have obsessed over for decades. One coin, verified in pristine condition, sold for an astonishing $18,800 in 2017. Another was reported at $114,000, and in whispered stories among collectors. The possibility of one selling for nearly $1 million has been entertained. Why? Because this penny represents the perfect storm of rarity, timing, and sheer accident. But let's rewind to the year 1982. Ronald Reagan was president. Gas cost 91 cents a gallon, and Michael Jackson's Thriller was about to change music forever. Meanwhile, at the U.S. Mint, a quiet but monumental change was taking place. After decades of producing Lincoln cents in solid copper, the Mint faced rising metal costs. Copper prices had soared, and the government could no longer justify making a 1-cent coin that was worth nearly 3 cents in metal. So, in the middle of 1982, they made a switch, transitioning from copper cents to cheaper zinc cents coated with a thin copper plating dot. This transition didn't just happen once. It happened in stages. During that single year, the Mint produced pennies with 7 different varieties: large date, small date, copper composition, zinc composition, and different mint marks, depending on whether they were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. It was a year of chaos and experimentation. And when you have chaos at the Mint, you sometimes get mistakes. Mistakes that slip quietly into circulation and decades later become jackpots. For the lucky few who stumble across them. Now, here's where things get intriguing. Most coins bear a tiny letter, the Mint mark, identifying where they were struck. A D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, and typically a P for Philadelphia, though for much of U.S. history, Philadelphia coins carried no mark at all. But in 1982, something unusual happened. A Lincoln cent that should have had a Mint mark didn't. One was struck without that critical identifier, making it immediately stand out from the millions of others once collectors discovered its existence. At first, you might think, so what? It's just missing a tiny letter. But in the numismatic world, the world of rare coins, that tiny omission can mean the difference between pocket change and life-changing wealth. Why? Because such mistakes aren't intentional. They happen by chance, perhaps due to a minting die being improperly prepared or polished too aggressively, erasing the Mint mark entirely. And when a mistake like this happens in a year already filled with multiple varieties and shifts in composition, the rarity compounds. Here's the bombshell. Some of these 1982 no Mint mark Lincoln cents have been authenticated and graded at the highest levels by professional services like PCGs and NGC, and the numbers they've commanded in auctions have left jaws on the floor. A 1982 no Mint mark in pristine condition has fetched over $18,000. Others have been rumored, privately traded among elite collectors for 6 figures. And experts believe that the absolute finest examples, the perfect storm coins, could one day command 7 figures. Yes, as much as $1 million for a penny. But wait before you rush to dump your piggy bank on the kitchen table. Let's pause, because here's the catch. Not all 1982 pennies are valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent. The key lies in recognizing the specific details. Is it copper or zinc? Is the date style large or small? Is the mint mark missing, faint, or completely absent? This is where ordinary folks often give up, thinking it's too complicated. But the reality is, you don't need to be a professional coin dealer to identify one. All you need is a sharp eye, a simple scale, and the patience to look closely. Let me ask you, when was the last time you actually studied a penny? Not just glanced at it, but really looked. Most of us dismiss pennies as an annoyance, a burden at the bottom of our purse or pocket. And yet, in those little copper discs, fortunes are hiding. Doesn't it make you wonder how many life-changing coins have already been tossed into Coinstar machines or handed to cashiers, their true value lost forever? Here's where the story turns from history into urgency. You see, every year that passes, fewer and fewer of these era coins remain in circulation. They're plucked out, hoarded, locked away in private collections. And that means the chances of finding one are shrinking. What was once simply rare is now edging toward nearly impossible. And yet, the dream persists. Every time you handle a penny from 1982, you might be holding a lottery ticket in disguise. Think about it. What if the coffee you buy tomorrow morning comes with change that includes a 1982 no mint mark cent worth thousands? What if the dusty jar of pennies your father kept in the garage contains not just memories, but a nest egg? What if the one coin you've ignored your whole life is actually the key to paying off your mortgage, funding your retirement, or sending your kids to college? That's not just numismatics. That's destiny hiding in plain sight. And here's another twist. While collectors dream about the big numbers, the $100,000 coins, the $1 million possibilities, even lower-grade examples of the 1982 no mint mark have value. Coins showing wear can still bring in hundreds, sometimes thousands. Imagine pulling a coin out of your pocket today, taking a quick photo and listing it online, only to have collectors scrambling to outbid each other for it. It's happened before, and it can happen again. Now, maybe you're skeptical. Maybe you're thinking, if this coin is so valuable, why haven't I seen one? The truth is, very few people even know it exists. And even fewer know what to look for. This is why knowledge is power. The coin itself doesn't announce its worth, it blends in with every other penny. But to those in the know, it's like spotting a diamond in a gravel pit. And once you've seen it, you'll never look at pennies the same way again. So how do you begin? Start by separating your 1982 pennies. Weigh them. Copper cents weigh 3.11 grams. Zinc cents weigh 2.5 grams. Study the date carefully. Look for the small date versus large date differences. And most importantly, check for the missing mint mark. If you're unsure, don't guess. Professional grading services exist precisely to authenticate and preserve rare finds. And remember, condition matters. A coin fresh and uncirculated from a forgotten roll can be worth exponentially more than a worn coin found at the bottom of a change jar. And here's the kicker: time is not on your side. As word spreads, as videos like this reach more people, as the demand climbs higher, the window of opportunity narrows. The last thing you want is to wake up in a few years and see headlines about another 1982. No mint mark cent selling for $914,000 while you realize you once had one in your hand and let it slip away. So let me ask you one final question. Are you going to keep treating pennies like trash? Or are you ready to start seeing them as treasure? Because somewhere, right now, in circulation, in an attic, in a dusty jar on a forgotten shelf, $1 million penny is waiting. And the only thing standing between you and that discovery is whether you're willing to look. The story of the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln cent is more than just numismatic trivia. It's a reminder that sometimes the smallest things, the overlooked, the ordinary, the humble penny can hold extraordinary power. The kind of power that changes lives. So the next time you hear that faint clink of a penny hitting the counter, pause. Look closer. Because fortune favors the ones who notice what others ignore. And who knows? The next great discovery might not be in a museum or in the hands of a billionaire collector. It might be in yours. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, "Come on, it's just a penny," pause for a moment. Ask yourself this: why would collectors pay the price of a luxury home for something you could still find sitting at the bottom of a junk drawer? The answer lies in one of the most fascinating and mysterious minting errors in modern American coinage history. The 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent, a coin so elusive that when it surfaces in pristine condition, the numismatic world practically stops breathing. The story begins with the mint marks themselves. Every U.S. coin carries a small letter, usually just beneath the date, revealing where it was struck. A D means Denver. An S means San Francisco, and no mint mark at all. That usually means Philadelphia. For decades, this was the system, the code hidden in plain sight. But in 1988, something unexpected happened. A tiny anomaly barely visible unless you know what to look for slipped through the careful hands of the U.S. Mint. And that's where our tale turns extraordinary. At first glance, a 1988 cent looks like any other. Abraham Lincoln gazes left, the memorial stands tall on the reverse, and the coin feels utterly ordinary. But under magnification, some cents struck that year don't match the design they should. Instead of using the proper obverse die for 1988, the Mint accidentally paired some cents with an older hub from 1989, creating subtle design differences. Most people never noticed. Most people spent them. But a few sharp-eyed collectors caught on. And the chase was on now. You might be wondering, how can such a tiny design difference be worth so much money? The answer is simple: rarity and demand. Imagine being one of only a handful of people on Earth who owns a genuine 1988 transitional variety Lincoln cent. Collectors will battle fiercely for that privilege. And when the battle gets fierce, prices explode. In fact, in documented cases, examples of these rare cents in top condition have sold for jaw-dropping sums up to $907,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A penny. Nearly $1 million. Take a moment and let that sink in. Somewhere, someone paid almost $1 million for a 1-cent coin you could have overlooked in your change jar. Doesn't that make you want to grab a magnifying glass and start inspecting every coin you've ever touched? That, my friends, is the power of numismatic treasure hunting. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to dig deeper into how you can recognize one of these legendary pieces. The first clue is in the mint marqueur, the absence of one. Most 1988 cents carry a small D for Denver. But the no mint mark versions attributed to Philadelphia hold the mystery. Now here's the twist. Not every Philadelphia cent from 1988 is valuable. The key lies in the design transition. On the obverse, look closely at the shape of the G in Liberty and the style of Lincoln's bust. In the rare transitional error, Lincoln's portrait aligns with the later 1989 design, not the one meant for 1988. Subtle, yes. Important. Absolutely, and here's the kicker. These differences are so tiny that millions of people have handled them without ever realizing it. Think about that. Millions of Americans may have tossed away life-changing money into vending machines or piggy banks, never knowing the truth. How many rare coins have already slipped through unnoticed? How many still hide in coffee cans across the country? The suspense alone is enough to make you empty your pockets right now. Of course, not all coins are created equal. Condition is everything. A scratched, worn example might fetch a few hundred or a few $1,000s, which is still impressive for a penny. But the pristine ones, those in near-perfect mint state condition, are the real jackpots. These are the coins that auction houses salivate over, the coins that turn headlines into legend. Imagine sending in a penny to be graded, expecting $20, and finding out it's worth more than your house. That's not just a story. It's a reality that has stunned collectors time and time again. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Most of us think we need to be rich to get rich buying stocks, property, gold. But the truth is, sometimes the universe hides fortune in the humblest of places. What could be more humble than a penny? This is why so many ordinary Americans, from retirees to hobbyists, are now scouring through change jars and estate sales, hunting for that golden ore, in this case, coppery ticket. And why not? If even 1 penny out of billions carries the potential to change your life, isn't it worth looking? Some of you might be thinking, all right, this sounds amazing, but realistically, what are my chances? Fair question. The chances are slim. That's the point. But the value is so astronomically high that even slim chances are worth the effort. Think of it like buying a lottery ticket. This ticket doesn't cost you anything more than a little curiosity. You've already got the coins. The only investment is your attention, and don't underestimate the thrill of the hunt. Ask any collector, and they'll tell you, half the joy comes from searching. Every time you crack open a roll of pennies from the bank, every time you scoop spare change from your car's cup holder, there's a rush of anticipation. Could this be the one? Could this be my $900,000 miracle? That tiny flicker of possibility keeps people hooked. And sometimes, just sometimes, it pays off. Picture this. A man in Ohio cashes in his loose change and decides, just for fun, to check a few coins under a magnifier. Among them is a flawless 1988 cent with no mint mark. He sends it off for certification. Months later, he's standing at an auction, heart pounding, as bids climb higher and higher. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. Then unbelievably the hammer falls at nearly $1 million. His life will never be the same. It sounds like a fairy tale, but it's not. It's history. Now let's pause for a moment. If you're listening to this right now, ask yourself, when was the last time you actually looked closely at your pennies? For most people, the answer is never. We take them for granted. We leave them in tip jars, or worse, toss them aside. But every penny has a story. And in the case of the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, that story could be the key to generational wealth. Wouldn't it be tragic if you had one sitting in your possession and never knew? Here's the urgency. These coins aren't just valuable, they're becoming harder to find every year. Collectors are snapping them up. Auction houses are cataloging them. And once they disappear into private collections, they rarely resurface. The window of opportunity is closing. What's left in circulation is dwindling fast. If you want to stand a chance, you must act now. Start searching. Start checking. Every day that passes, another potential fortune vanishes into obscurity. Of course, let's not forget the humor in all of this. Imagine explaining to your spouse why you're spending hours hunched over a magnifying glass, muttering about the shape of Lincoln's chin. They might roll their eyes until the day you walk in with a check big enough to pay off the mortgage. Suddenly, the joke's on them. Sometimes, obsession pays dividends. And here's a final thought to leave you with. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that hidden value exists in the most ordinary places. That wealth doesn't always announce itself with gold and diamonds. Sometimes, it whispers quietly from the copper glow of a forgotten penny. The only question is, will you be the one who hears it? So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss those coins aside. Look at them. Study them. Imagine the possibility that one could hold the power to change your life forever. Because history has already shown us it's not just possible. It's real. Somewhere out there, another 1988 no-mint mark cent is waiting to be discovered. And maybe, just maybe, the next one will be yours.